following program was produced by the United States Courts.
I have no question but that the education and the advice that I got during my formative years is the reason that I am where I am today. I was born and raised in Mississippi by my grandparents. It was during the terrible years when African Americans were trying to get the right to vote. Also, African Americans were discouraged from going to school. We were expected to work. I started working in the field at about the age of 6 years old, and we actually worked full time, from sun up to sundown. It wasn't in this 8-hour or 10-hour day period. It was sun up to sundown. You were expected to pick at least over 100 pounds of cotton a day, but there were some people in my family who picked as much as 400 pounds. That's a lot. Well, looking back on it today, I think that was a great feat in itself, trying to pick 150 pounds of that light stuff. It was back-breaking, very hard, arduous work. Those were very painful times for me and for my family. My grandfather would tell me when we were driving not to look out the window, but to look at him. The reason being, he didn't want anybody to accuse me of looking at a white woman. We had another incident with a white kid. He was the same age that I was. Once Sonny turned 13, my grandfather told me we would have to start calling Sonny Mr. Sonny. And I think one of the most painful things that I have seen in my life was to see my grandfather refer to Sonny as Mr. Sonny. I told my grandfather I wouldn't do it. And that was partially the reason that my grandparents, even though they couldn't afford to do so, they decided to send me away to a boarding school in Alabama. My grandmother told me, if you get an education, you can be anything that you want to be in life. When I finished high school, my thought was to come to Chicago, and I did. I came to the promised land, and I got a job in the post office. I was a carrier, and I loved that job. It was a great job. But after about a year, I decided, this is not where I want to be 10 years from now. So I decided to enlist in the Marines. I actually went from a private to a sergeant in 2.5 years. Came back after 4 years and decided I was going to go to college. Once I started in September of '69, I just stayed there. We're talking about summers, we're talking about all year round, plus the summers. And in February of 1972, I graduated. Decided then, why not try law school? Got accepted into DePaul and graduated there in 2.5 years. I was determined that I was going to get a college education. Nothing was going to stop me. And I went through both undergraduate and law school in 5.5 years. Without an education, there's really no future.
District Court for the Northern District of Illinois is now in session. The Honorable Arlander Keys presiding.
It has as my grandmother used to say to me, you can be anything you want to be if you get an education. If you're determined that you want to be something and you're willing to work hard at it, there's no reason why you can't achieve that.